I'm coming off a really bad week of marathon training, and I wanted to address some common hardships that we all face in the throes of a big training block that don't get discussed as much. The first one I wanted to talk about is social isolation. Now, this might not apply to everybody. I know a lot of you have families, a partner, some children, maybe some dogs. Maybe you're really close with a large group of friends, or you visit your families frequently. That is true of many people, but there are other people out there as well who don't have as strong of a network to support them through their training block. So when you're running extremely long miles, 6 days a week, 5, 6 days a week, it eats into your schedule in a major way. And I know a lot of us are remote workers as well. So that could add to this sense of isolation as a whole. The way that this is something that I personally relate to because I do work remotely. I do see people occasionally, but largely throughout the week, my day-to-day does not look like a lot of human interaction. It can be on, at work. I interact with people remotely on teams and have meetings and such, but it's not exactly the same, and it's not in a social type of setting, right? And so this is really one that is important to address because the consequences of isolation in the long term can be really dire and can affect your mental health negatively. So the ways that I've been combating this myself has been through being very accountable to going to run club every week. You more likely than not have a run club local to you if you're anywhere near a major city. Even most minor cities have some. Rochester is a mid-sized city, and we have like 4 clubs that I know about specifically, right? So there probably will be a run club by you. Now, that doesn't mean that you'll have time for it every couple of days, but carve out an hour, maybe 2 hours in your schedule to attend your run club once a week, and you'll start to make friends and start to mitigate that sensation of social isolation and build community. That's really important, not just in running, but in life. The second hardship that runners face that we don't really talk about very much is mood swings. Now, I don't know if I've actually even seen anything about this, and maybe I'm not in that content sphere as much as other people, so please do tell me if this has come up before in any other videos or if you have any resources on this, but I experience mood swings keenly, especially on my long run days. At the end of a, solid 20-mile effort, I could be flying high, literally ecstatic for the rest of the day, so proud and accomplished and feeling fantastic. Or, like was the case this last Sunday, I could be miserable and sad. And it could just take all of the energy that remained in my body and suck it clean out and put it into the ether. And that's really hard when you have responsibilities that you still need to attend to, and when you have dogs that you need to love and take care of in a meaningful, nice, and supportive way, or if you have a family, like you can't disengage from them and put your mood swings from running onto them, right? So this is a challenge that I'm still living through. It's not something that I could give perfect advice on. What I've found works for me a little bit is instead of getting sucked into scrolling on my phone or engaging with the internet in some unproductive way, as soon as I can catch myself in that behavior, attempting to interrupt that behavior and get out of the house a little bit, even if it's just to get out for a drive. Even better would be to do some cleaning or to, play a game with my dogs. That's what works for me to break myself out of that headspace. It's easy to get into that headspace of sort of just mindless scrolling or sadness when you finish a long run because you are tired and you did earn a rest. But that doesn't mean that using your phone for 3 hours straight on social media is restful, right? And I'm not trying to call anybody out here specifically because I do this. It's not good and it's not a good habit to get into. So when you do recognize those patterns, it's really helpful to interrupt them. And if you notice yourself being snappy with somebody you care about following a long run, take a moment to step back and realize that could be because of the sheer weight of the effort that you just put into existing through a really challenging feat of athleticism. So that's number two. That's a hardship that I still have not mastered overcoming by any means. And I think that's part of the process of running. We're going to keep mastering it over time and learning how to uh, even out those mood swings. And remember, we're in it together. If you need to talk to other runners, that's why you have your run club. You could figure out how they're coping with these things as well. So that these are building blocks that you could use together. The third one, the hardship that I haven't seen a ton of people really talk about, is your food budget. This is problematic to say the least. I just don't even have a food strategy anymore. I used to be really good about meal prep. I did make bacon this weekend. That was my meal prep. And it's going to go into sandwiches, wraps, salads, whatever. But I have other ingredients that I pre-purchased so that I didn't have to cook anything. My solution typically for nutrition is to meal prep large batches of various things. Like I love to do barbacoa bowls. I'll do like taco salads. Maybe I'll make a big batch of grilled chicken and mix that into a stir fry of some sort. But when you're this deep into a block where I'm personally at right now, that all kind of goes out the window. Like it's really hard to get the number of calories in that you need because it's a lot more than a typical human being existing in the world, where I probably eat like 4,000 calories a minimum a day, maybe 3,500 minimum, and then probably most days 4,000 calories. That's like double the cost of in terms of calories of food that you would need to normally eat as a human being. So my grocery bill is high, right? And I go out to eat a lot and get stuff from restaurants a lot. I don't have great advice on how to mitigate this because there really is no mitigating this. Food will be more expensive because you need more food to exist. One of my lesser healthy ways, sort of a cheat code type of way to deal with this, is going to a Chinese restaurant, finding one in your neighborhood that is inexpensive. Chinese restaurants give massive portions typically, or at least by me they do. Maybe there's a restaurant by you that is similar to a Chinese restaurant. Maybe it's like a Thai place or a Vietnamese place that gives really large portions by you. But for me, it's in Rochester, the Chinese restaurants. There are a lot of them, and they give very large portion sizes. So I'll drop like $40-$50 on Chinese food and have like 3 or 4 days of food from a Chinese restaurant. It's not the healthiest dip. There's probably a ton of sodium, MSG. MSG is delicious, by the way. I don't knock MSG. But there's probably some stuff in there that you didn't, decide to put in that food, right? So you don't know what your macros are when you're eating Chinese food. It depends on how you are with, or any takeout food for that matter, but it depends on how you are with your nutrition, how specific you're being with your diet, whether or not that becomes an option for you. With grocery prices rising, it's a challenge. This is how the world is nowadays. Food is more expensive than it ever was, and it will continue to become increasingly more expensive still. So being planful around your diet, finding good, easy sources of calories that you enjoy, that can't be understated enough. You really need to get food in your body, and it's better if it's healthier. I understand if you can't get healthy food in. I was watching, because Floberg just did a big, nutrition episode on his marathon builds, and it was interesting in one sense how specific he's being with his caloric intake and the macronutrients. And I think that everybody, if they're pursuing greatness in the marathon, at some point really will need to take a look at their nutrition, myself included. Uh, for the majority of us, though, everything burns, right? If the furnace is hot enough, this is what Floberg was saying in his video, but I've seen this quote elsewhere as well. If the furnace is hot enough, everything burns. And that's what I subscribed to for a really long time. I started to notice certain foods interacted with my stomach in a way that made it prohibitive to eat them before running. Like, I've been gradually becoming more lactose intolerant, so that's sort of out the window. I'm not a huge beans person, even though I like the flavor of them because it just creates like stomach discomfort while in the throes of a training block. But do get nutrition in and do what you can to make it healthful nutrition, carbohydrate, whole foods, plant-based. Those are things that for most runners will be optimal. I'm by no means a nutrition expert. This is just conventional wisdom and modern nutritional science, as well as, just everything that the body of work that exists on athletics and cardiovascular performance suggests that you want carbohydrates, right? Why else would we eat goo on our marathons, during our marathons? It's disgusting, right? So get your carbs in, recover well, and think of clever ways you might be able to do that on a budget. For me, it's Chinese food and ramen. So not the best, right, solution, but these are the hardships. This is why I'm making this video. These are the hardships that don't always have an answer. Isolation isn't something that's solved overnight. You need to build a community around yourself to feel connected to anything, to be a part of something, is what cures isolation, right? And you can't accomplish that without effort. And then mood swings. This is something that your emotions run through you. You cannot control the experiencing of an emotion. It's a reaction to far too many factors of your own experiential self for you to be able to stop it. Stopping an emotion does not happen. You must feel them. The only thing you can control is how you react to those emotions. And so working with recognizing what moods you're in and maybe putting yourself in situations that can mitigate the negative effects of your mood swings. And then for diet, find something you like, try to optimize it for price. And if you're not price sensitive, get healthful whole foods that are supportive of an athletic lifestyle. I appreciate your attention. As always, stay in motion.